we are back. This is episode 7.
Yes, officially.
Yes. It's 2025.
Woo!
Hello. We're back.
Did everybody survive our fabulous snowfall?
Yes. So we've had some delays. There was illness. I was sick for a little bit.
Again.
My school has just been passing around. And then we had a snow week.
It was great.
Because again, back to Market Fibers is situated not far from the Gulf. So we don't get snow down here. And they were like, hey, you're going to get 6 to 8 inches of snow. We're like, you're crazy.
Well, and I actually thought 10 years ago in January, we had freezy rain, which froze for like almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We were frozen. 19 degrees, daytime highs. My car was frozen. It took me 4 hours to get in it. So when they talked about how we were supposed to get snow, I was like, yeah, it'll probably be freezy rain, but I'm still going to work, which I did. I was here Tuesday, and I was okay going into work because it hadn't quite started yet. The freezy rain started, but it wasn't heavy. It was more like spotted speckles.
Yeah.
I come into work, I get my stuff done, my floors clean, trash taken out. And then about 7:30, I noticed that it's snowing, and I was like, it's really snowing. I was excited.
I guess we should pause. Hello, I'm Hannah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Michelle.
Today is Saturday, January 25th, 2025. Just for context of when we're talking about this. So down here, when they say snow, it's usually like not quite sleet, but it's like mush snow.
Yeah, it's freezy rain,
it's
really.
It's like when you get a snow cone and it's half melted. That's kind of the snow.
Yeah.
But it was fluffy snow this week, y'all.
It was.
And we had like 8 inches at my house.
We had 5 at my house.
It was insane.
It was great.
I need to like insert photos somewhere here.
Yes.
But like, so I was driving here today. There's still snow that hasn't melted. And apparently there's a possibility of more snow in like 2 weeks.
Oh, for pity's sakes.
People don't live here for snow. People live here to get away from the snow versus me who like lived here because I was born here.
And never saw it.
I've never been in like fluffy snow. Like
this
fluffy,
was literally,
yes.
Literally, I was having flashbacks of being back home in Colorado. So I'm used to it. I was actually having a good time in it. My parents, not so much. They don't like it. And I kept telling him, but at least you don't have to drive in it. You don't have to shovel the snow, which we realized very quickly. We don't have snow shovels. So I had to use the broom, which underneath all the fluffy stuff is the slush. Yeah. It's a wet, heavy snow underneath it. Because of how it started. So, yeah, it took us a while to get it out, but we did.
And see, I heard that so Louisiana got more snow than us, which is crazy because most of their state is south of us.
Yes.
And I heard that they did not have a snow plow in the entire state, and other states were having to send in snow plows for Louisiana.
They were actually also told, because I had a fabric shop owner call me, and she told me that they were actually told to stay off the roads, and that if you were caught on the roads, they were going to pull you over and find out why you're driving around. So
and
it's
and for context, was just because in this part of the United States we don't get snow. We don't usually have freezing weather. Not like throughout the day. It might freeze overnight, but it's melted in the morning so somebody could go out and drive. We're not used to having to to salt and sand the roads here.
Which they didn't do.
No.
Because I was out Wednesday morning.
They did on some of the bridges, like the bridges and stuff that people were worried about.
Maybe the overpasses, but not all of them.
No.
Because Waveland was still
But I think it's just nobody
bad.
knew how to... We don't handle this here.
We don't drive in it.
No. Mm-mm. So,
they think it's rain and they can just plow right through it, and that doesn't work.
So anyway, I think we both have some snow day finished objects to show you.
Yes.
It was magical here. I lived my best life. My husband was not. He he humored me and went out in the snow. And you have to think about, it's we have a very damp climate, so it was like 19 degrees outside, but it was like the humidity, the wetness cuts through your bones, so it's like your hands would be frozen in just a couple minutes. Like you could not feel your hands in a couple.
It's a lot
with
colder.
Gloves. It wasn't like I walked out without gloves.
Yeah. So when you walk outside in 19 degrees, it's a wet cold.
Right.
Versus, you know, being up in the snow states like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, it's a dry cold. So 19 degrees doesn't feel that cold.
Right.
As it does here, because there's no humidity. So yes,
it's just before we think we're wimps.
Very freezy.
It's the humidity.
And I basically can tell you I am a wimp now.
I tried so hard to not be a wimp. I tried so hard because I wanted to play all day in the snow, and it just did not happen.
No,
But
you could have shoveled you could have cleared the snow off my sidewalk leading to the driveway. That would have been good because it was blowback. So it would have been fine for you.
You ready to talk some knitting?
Okay.
Now that
We've
talked
got
about
some
snow.
Finishes.
Okay, first, I'm wearing my sixth season.
Are. Yay.
This is Polka Dot Creek DK Weight Avocado. The avocado colorway. This is the Stick Season sweater by Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. And
now you were concerned about the fit of the shoulder yoke area.
It's a little tight, but when it blocked, the one thing I will say, you can see how it kind of comes out a little bit. She did not, and it's probably because I did not check gauge on the stitch pattern, so that's a me problem and not a her problem. But it definitely, this was a much bigger difference between the stockinette and the patterning before blocking. And then when I blocked it, I intentionally tried to make sure it was kind of evened out. And getting this stitch pattern to open up a little bit helped a lot.
Oh, good.
So it sits really well. I did not think I was a drop shoulder person, but I might be a drop shoulder person. This makes me want to knit another drop shoulder sweater and maybe a saddle shoulder sweater to just kind of play around with construction and what fits my body well. But I love it. I wore this out in the snow. I have had this done for like a week and a half as far as I knit everything, so I counted it as a finished object for last year. But I finished, it was just the bind off I had to do, and the bind off I just had to dedicate time to sit down and do the tubular bind off, and I 100% am glad I did it. It lays beautifully, but since I finished it, I think I've worn it like 5 times in 2 weeks.
It looks good. The color looks good on you.
It's so nice and warm. I love this pattern. It was very, as somebody who hadn't done this construction before, she explained it very well, and I felt like I always understood where I was at in the sweater, which is really important when you're doing like a back panel and then a front panel, and she's explaining to you, okay, this lines up with this shoulder and this shoulder. So you really, when I went to try it on, there was no doubt of what went where and what was the right side and the wrong, or the front and the back, because she had explained it so well in her instructions. So she has another pattern coming out called the Kentra in February, and it's a circular yoke, but it has like I think it's a slip stitch pattern, but it's different colors, like making a collar going down. I tried to get it on the test and I didn't make it on the test, and I was so upset. But when it comes out in February, I have a feeling I'm gonna jump right in and do hers if I'm able to. So that's my first. It's official, done.
Yay.
Do you have something you want to show?
I do. I've got 2. Now, these finishes were part of my personal whip down. I don't have a bingo card because I'm trying to adhere to those kind of rules. Doesn't work well for me, but I pulled out all the things that languished and either needed to be done or pull it off the needles, reclaim the yarn, get my needles back. But these I really had to have. These I really wanted to get finished, and they're done, and ta-da! My pair. I do have the other one, I promise. There it is.
Fully finished
Fully
object.
finished, wearable, and including the tails woven in.
Ooh.
All 6, 8. Anyway, yes, it's completely done. They fit fabulous. I didn't have to change needle sizes. This is Slippery Slopes by General Hog Buffer. It came in the 2017 Interweave Knits magazine. That's when I started.
Oh no. Ooh, a 7-year pair of socks.
Right? That's why I pulled out all the things that had been languishing for quite a while and wanted to get them done. So I'm really happy about these. I worked diligently, didn't have that far to go, just half the foot actually. And so they're done. I can now officially wear them.
What yarn did you use?
This is actually a stash yarn that I got when I was in Colorado at the now closed Loopy U in Fort Collins.
Aw, I heard Loopy U was great.
Yeah. Well, yes. They weren't really in a great area. The shopping center that they were in was actually upstairs in the business area, you know, like you've got your storefronts down here on the main ground, and then you had to go in a side door, go up to the second floor, down a hallway where a lot of offices were, and that's where their store was. They did have a nice big store, but it was just hard to get to because of where it was located. So, you know, when you're pulling in the parking lot of this shopping center, you think that's where it is, but no, it's not. So honestly, I have lost the label for it. I'm sorry, but when I got these and that magazine came out, I just had to cast on with these, so I did. And
I'm
sorry,
glad you finally have them done. Are they for you?
Yes.
Yay!
These are not going to anybody but me. Sorry, Mom. Love you, but no.
Okay, I have another one.
Your turn.
We'll alternate. This is my first, the first one I need to talk about is not with me, but we'll mention because it's my first bingo square of 2025.
Yay.
My top secret project that I didn't want to talk about was actually a quilt for my mom. So my mom's birthday is in January and her anniversary, her and my dad's anniversary is in February. So I finished a queen size quilt for them with much help from my in-laws and my husband's cousin. So thank you for everybody who laid hands on that quilt. It was a labor of love from all of us, but it was done. It's the fabric line was honey and lavender, and the pattern was sticks and stones that was released by Missouri Star, and I modified because it originally came out in like a twin and a full. I modified it to do a queen, and then used the leftover strips of my jelly roll to do a border, and then I did a scrappy binding. So yeah, she loved it. I'll put a picture up.
Happy birthday, happy anniversary,
yes.
Mom, Dad. Yay.
Her birthday was actually this past Sunday, and we're going to do her birthday dinner tonight on the 25th, so after her birthday. And I was like, I'm bringing your birthday present to you on your birthday. And she's like, well, I can wait. I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't. Because I knew it was
out on this. You got to do it.
Yes, and I knew it was going to be cold and snowy this week. So I was like, you need a nice, warm quilt.
And cuddly. Oh.
So.
And I did see it, and it is beautiful. Very beautiful. It was very nice.
I will insert a picture of it all spread out here.
In its glory.
Yes. So that was my first FO of 2025. The next one,
these were
the
quick.
ends are not woven in. I don't have the dates with me because I left my iPad, but this is bingo square number 2 for 2025. My yellow, let me grab this one first. My yellow brick road socks. So you can see it looks like the yellow brick road.
Yeah,
and this is Wool Market Fibers Lemon Meringue. The stitch pattern is my own, not my own creation. I found it in a stitch pattern book that I had at home, and I just did plain stockinette on the back, heel flap and gusset, 20 rounds on the cuff, 56 stitch sock, my usual recipe. I did do a couple extra rows on the end because this is a slip stitch pattern.
It pulls in.
But honestly, I mean, you can see the sock does not pull in that much, and these aren't blocked yet.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I did make a boo-boo when I was trying to figure out the pattern on the first one, and this was like the third time I had done these. So I was like, I'm going to keep going. So it has a little reminder of the struggle.
Honestly, it's really not that noticeable.
It's not.
They're going to be in your pants.
Right. Well, okay. So when the show, this is for the high school in my district is doing the Wizard of Oz this year. And our show is in like 3-4 weeks. It's really close. But I always wear themed socks the week of the show.
Yes, she does.
And so I'll wear my Birkenstocks up in the booth. I'm the stage manager. So most stage managers are down by the stage, but I actually go by up in the booth so I can see everything, and I kind of run all the front of house stuff. making sure that we start on time, making sure all the cues are called, all of that from upstairs. So I wear my Birkenstocks, and the whole week up through dress rehearsal, now that I have this collection of socks, I'll wear different socks all week. So I'll have my whole collection of Broadway socks, and this is the first of this year's.
It is.
Because I went all out this year. I had a good reason. So, Blue Market Fibers Linen Meringue.
Cute.
I have been dying to wear these because my socks, I've been wearing hand knit socks exclusively since I got married in September. And my socks are starting to get a little worse for wear. So I got to start pumping out some socks.
I do too, because I found 3 more whips.
As I become enthralled with all the slippers.
Okay, you ready? I only have one more, so. This is another one of those whips that we had talked about, I think, in the last episode. My Harvest Gold number 2 Dexter by Isabel Kramer. I love this. I can't help it. I just love it. But
Michelle's favorite designer by far.
But this one will be my last because this is number 2. So this one I finally got done. I got the sleeves. Remember I talked about how I put the sleeves on and realized that I did them on 4s, not 5s?
Yes.
And I had to rip back 1.5 inches on both sleeves. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I got them back on 5s, and I got these done in, I want to say 3 days max. Over the weekend. Yeah, and of course the snow was nice to me since I was told I could not go to work on Wednesday. I left early on Tuesday because it was starting to come down pretty good. So, and then I was told I could not go to work on Wednesday.
It was very icy on Wednesday because it froze overnight. So when we had snow, it dropped down to like 9 degrees or something like that.
Yes, it did. And it did not get, during the daytime high on Tuesday, it did not get out of the 30s. Yeah. If that, because when I left work, it was 25. When I came to work, it was 25.
Yeah, they said our high was going to be 31. I don't think we ever broke 30 on Tuesday.
No, And then Wednesday morning, it was 16. Yeah. Which we haven't seen in a while. Yeah,
it doesn't get cold like that around here. We're lucky if we get below freezing in the wintertime, honestly.
We have.
We might once or twice a year, but it's not a lot, and it's not like a freeze. Yeah, this was like a Arctic blast. Like straight from the tundra. Who are we down here?
Siberia. So
okay, but y'all have to see this.
Other than the frogs that I said I was going to put on this sweater, which I got the frogs. Here is Dexter number 2, my Harvest Gold. This is the one I modified. So instead of having the moss stitch just, down here, I did this basically the whole body.
I like that.
In the moss stitch. So the pattern calls for it to be at the top in the yoke area, front and back here. And then originally just, an inch down here. But since I'd already done one, I didn't like it after I did it. So the second one, I put more in it, and I really do like it a lot better.
It gives it a nice depth, because with it just being the solid color, it gives it some more texture.
It does.
And movement.
And
her frogs.
My little frog closures will go, and sorry for the safety pins, but that's my placement of where they will go. So they'll sit like this.
Oh, that's precious.
All the way down. So I had to buy 2 sets of frogs. Let's see if you can see these. Whoops, guess not. Sorry. There we go. That's my frogs.
Oh.
So they just slip out and come out like this to open up. So I'm really excited about this. No more buttonholes. Woo!
Oh, I'm so mad at you later.
So that's the end of mine.
But I only have one more.
I'm on a roll because I've got a shawl that's almost done. So
we have been like, this whole weather, we just need to go live in the snow more often. Like, this is what we needed, apparently.
That's what happens when you live in snow country. You stay home and do stuff.
So, this is my last FO. I used this as bingo square number 3 for the year. It is not, it's going to be in the free space. But when I heard we had snow, I was like, Man, I've been thinking about knitting this hat and mitten set for the longest time. I did not, because I was ill, the mittens did not come to fruition. I just couldn't get them done in time, but I did get the hat done because I knew I needed a new hat because I love my neon pink hat, but it doesn't necessarily go with everything. So I need another option. And so I had this reusable, I gotta fluff up my pom-pom. Look at this. This is the Ponderosa Hat by Wool and Pine.
Cute.
Which,
cute.
Oh, my husband lovingly put my gloves in, apparently.
Cute.
To help store them.
How sweet. Pockets
but
in your coat.
I know, that's where I had him. He tried really hard. We love him dearly for that. So, this is my Ponderosa hat.
It is so cute.
It is, my family laughed at me so hard because it just sticks up. But it felt so good out in the snow. And I love that my finished object photos of this are in the snow.
Yes.
If you follow me on Instagram, my Instagram will be linked down below. I believe Michelle's will be linked down below as well in our Ravelry pages. So if you want to follow us and see what we're up to. But yep.
I think it's adorable.
I do too. And I did all these cables without a cable needle.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to practice. That? I did really good. I had one. No, I got towards the end, and because I had been sick, I was still kind of like foggy a little bit. Like these, I would get halfway through a row, and I'd stare off into space for 20 minutes and be like, "What am I doing now?" Because I was just sick. I was
extremely tired. Makes me do that.
Yeah, I was just that ill. Anyway, so I got to the end, and I messed up a couple, and I was able to like think back, get them back in the right order in the right orientation, and then go back and do it. And I was very proud of myself.
I could do one. So. I could do 1x1s, but not.
This was a 3x2.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
So I love it.
It looks great.
It has not been blocked. It got snow blocked. But I love it. I have the.
You can borrow one of my heads if you need to.
I have one of the sweater patterns for this. The Wool and Pine also, they didn't do Ponderosa mittens, which Wool and Pine, we need to have a talk because this hat needs a matching mitten set.
So what you could do, if they don't have one, I found, because I've done it, take a basic mitten pattern and run this past the cuff when you start the hand.
Right.
Run that up the center until you start decreasing for your for the top of your hand. And there it is.
Maybe, because that would be just one over my hand.
Yeah, that's all you basically need.
Ooh, okay, I might do that. So, anyway, and that's part of too why the mittens didn't come to fruition, because the mitten pattern I have is a different cabling pattern. So I'm kind of like, do I want to do them the same, or is it okay if it's different? But yeah, I love this hat. It's not on my bingo board, but it is in my queue of like yarn that and I have yarn. I have red Holst yarn for the Ponderosa sweater, which is this cable pattern.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad I did the hat first, because I really want to see, can I do cables without a needle? Because I feel like if I'm gonna do a whole sweater of cables, I have to be able to do it without a cable needle.
I'm gonna be miserable. Used to using my cable needle that it doesn't.
I'm so clumsy with it, and you can see that my cabling came out pretty neat.
Yeah, it looks good.
So this is the neatest my cables have ever looked in my life. So I might be hooked on cables now, because me and Lace have not been friends lately. So cabling would be nice.
me and Lace are not friends at all.
So that is all of our FOs.
Michelle yes, and I have limitations. I know where that ends. All right, more. Yes. I've got whips. Do we want the newest to the oldest, or the other way around?
However you want to tell us.
Well, let's go the one that's closest to being finished.
Okay.
This?
That does not mean she's committing to a finished object next time.
No. Well, yeah, actually, next time this will be a done. It will be a done deal.
Bold words.
Yes, bold, very bold. All right.
Ooh, this is pretty.
Now, I should not have done this. I was trying to get this particular row done before you got here, but then I had a phone call because Mr. Woolmarket Fibers had called, and so I didn't get this row done. So let me back out really super fast. In the meantime, this particular shawl is called Moonraker by Melanie Berg. This has been on the needles. This is actually one of the new whips, because I started this 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right.
I think my oldest whip is going to have its 3rd birthday this year.
All right. This, so far, is what it looks like.
Okay.
It's pretty long.
Sorry, Hannah's dropping it. Look at this, is gorgeous. You've got to be close to done with this.
Yeah, I'm on the last section. I'm on the last section of these little buds, and then there'll be like, 12 rows of plain dark gray, and then it's bind off. So yeah, I'm very close.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it'll be done.
Look at this.
It'll be done.
Look at these little buds. Aren't they pretty? Oh.
And she does link for the tutorial for how to do this bud stitch. She shows it when she did her rain day hat and mitts. So,
what yarn did you use?
All Wool Market fibers. This is the platinum. This was I think it's just a basic dark gray that's got some really pretty black splotches in it that I liked. This was not really a navy, but like a dark denim. This was the Wool Market Fibers teal, and I lucked out when I saw this pattern. I always go through projects made on Ravelry because I want to see what other people used for colors, especially when I do my shawls. Somebody did a shawl very similar to this, and I fell in love with it, and I lucked out because we had those colors, and we also had these colors in the minis where the navy and the teal is. We had those in minis, so I snagged a couple and been working on it with all of that. I did take a break because these are a little time consuming.
Yeah, I could see that.
The buds are a little time consuming.
But
so I
beautiful.
took a break. But yeah, it's almost done. So this will be, by the time we have the next podcast, this will be hanging somewhere back there in the shop.
Yay.
Your turn.
Okay, I forgot to say. So this is Wool and Pine Designs Ponderosa Hat. The yarn is West Wool, Stephen West yarn brand, tandem in the colorway French Gray. And I wanted to try out.
It's a nice soft.
This wore so well. This whole outside of this hat got soaked with snow. My head was toasty warm.
Oh, good.
Like it didn't penetrate through at all.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's relaxed, but it's not overly relaxed. It's softened the more I use it. So I'm very much so enjoying this.
Nice.
Okay. My next whip. You haven't seen this one. You don't know what this is.
Oh dear.
Okay, this is Noro. I don't know. Let me go find my ball band because this yarn is difficult to say. This is Noro Kotori. I don't think that's the colorway. I think it's called Kotori. It's a discontinued Noro yarn. So I was gifted this kindly by Cher of our knit group for Christmas of 2023. So it's gorgeous, but it is discontinued. So I needed one more skein, and I had to do a giant hunt to find one more skein.
Did you do sometimes they have D-stash groups.
I looked on Ravelry, but it was literally like I found it at some random yarn store, had like a lot. They were just getting rid of a giant lot. Yeah. And they had a lot of the colorways of it, and they only had like 1 or 2 left of this. So I mean, it wasn't like.
Did you grab all they had?
No, I just grabbed the one because I figured I knew I only needed one for what I wanted to do. And truthfully, I maybe could have gotten away without having that extra one, but I wasn't going to risk it with it being discontinued.
Better to be safe than sorry.
So I figured that I'd go ahead and grab it so I could make sure that this project was as long as I wanted it to be. This is my Felix cardigan.
Yay!
We're on a US 10, and I did do a little bit of modification, but I don't know if I call it modification, adjustment, I guess. So what I did, it's gonna come off the needles if
I'm glad you got further because I had started this when we first talked about it, And I got just so far in it, and then the pattern, I got confused with the pattern.
So, yes. This is the increases. This is the trademark of this pattern, the Felix Felix cardigan, the Felix pullover. But it's, I mean, this yarn, it's very scrappy. It's very,
I like it.
Nubby. It's going to be one of those, I think this is going to be one of those cozy cardigans I just take everywhere. I don't wear a lot of brown, but I think brown looks good on me.
But it's really got like red in it. It's marled with, it's like a, they're soft colors. They're not bright. Yeah. The red is muted, almost like a burgundy. Yeah, so it's really pretty, really pretty.
Here you can see those pinks and the
I like that. And the soft pink.
And I'm going to start alternating skeins because it is color changing. Now that I've gotten split for the sleeves, I've gotten just like,
did you find that? How did you find the pattern?
I found it good. It wasn't difficult for me. I had to go back and reread it to make sure I understood, but it wasn't, I didn't have any problem with it.
Well, then maybe I'll start again. Or
I did have to reread the raglan increases to make sure I did it correctly.
Yeah, that's the part I had the issues with.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know if I'd say unclear, it's just, I feel like
vague. Slightly vague, at least like in my assessment.
I feel like charting what the increases did with the eyelets, that in a chart form where you can visually see it. And I don't know if I did it 100% right. I did it to the best of my ability and called it
right. Yeah.
But it's not what you think it's going to be. You kind of have to, because your marker, I still have the markers in. Your marker isn't necessarily always your center stitch. Like it is, but it isn't.
That helped.
Yeah. I'll explain more because you have the pattern. I don't want to give away the pattern.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, this is Noro. This is on the bingo boards. This will be bingo square number 4.
That's why I love Noro. That's why I love it. But
I'm excited. And I'm going to start alternating skeins.
This should be technically your first cardigan. Isn't it?
No, it's my second. Because I made the Mr. Rogers cardigan.
Oh.
I did the Gramps by Tin Can Knits for my kid. For my, not my child, my student who was playing Mr. Rogers in the school play.
Oh,
so this will be my second cardigan. So I'm excited. I wear cardigans all the time.
Picture of that. We never got to see it. The Gramps cardigan. Yeah.
Oh, I have a picture from Instagram. I can put it up.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put a picture.
We'll put that up because I want to see it.
It was, yeah. It's way back on my Instagram from a long time ago.
Yeah, definitely.
I used, I don't know. I think I used Lion Brand wool. No, it was patent wool, I think. Plastic worsted.
Here is a, whoops.
I only have one more whip, so you can go ahead if you have a couple more.
Yeah, I got like 3. This one is another long one. Time consuming. This is the second. Ceciliana by Lisa Haynes. It's a crescent style mosaic shawl with a lot of short rows. This is the second one I've done. The first one I gave to my sister as a gift. And of course, being back home, I always frequent yarn shops. So there was a particular yarn shop that I like to go to. And they had a yarn that was put out by Plymouth. It has since been discontinued. And I think the reason why they discontinued it is because it's a thick thin. And a lot of people didn't like that. Now
that's what's going on with my Felix, the yarn, because it's all those different things. It goes thick to thin, so you go from like a fingering gauge up to like a worsted.
Right. Well, this goes from fingering to, beyond lace. Now there were parts of this shawl where the yarn was so thin that I was afraid it would break. So I purposely broke at that particular area and then picked up. But when I pick up and join a new yarn, I usually have this strand and the new strand together as one and knit for a few stitches. So I did that with this shawl. This one is mine. I'm not giving it away because of the short rows. It took forever. It does take forever. I'm on part 3.
Oh, it's just stunning.
And yes.
How many parts are there on this?
There's three parts to the
Okay,
shawl.
so you're already on part 3.
So I'm on part 3. But if you notice where all these markers are, those are all the short rows. All the way to here. From the beginning, which started way back here. And you just keep adding new markers as you get enough repeats for each 12 stitch repeat of this mosaic pattern. It's very well written. I love Lisa Haynes. I've done quite a few of her shawls. They're very well written. They come with text and chart, so it gives you the option of one or the other, or you can do them both. When I do her mosaics, I use her charts. To me, they're easier than the written text. So this one is a long time. I got this yarn in the spring of 2019 because I was back home then for my for our anniversary. It was our 25th. Oh. I know, yay! So it's been
you're
a few
approaching
years.
you're approaching your 31st.
33. So I got this sooner than 2019.
Yeah, you got like 2016 or something.
Yeah. So I got to get this done. This one I really want to get done. And I made the bag that it goes in. You want me to keep going?
I only have one more left.
Okay.
And you don't know what the other one is. She doesn't know what my whips are because we haven't been.
I haven't seen her. She keeps getting sick.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that with us having like a week off of school, that like whatever was going around, everybody went home. They cleared their house of the germs, and then we're back to normal.
Please, folks, just because you have a cold doesn't mean you get to go to school or go to work. Stay home.
We have rules for that.
Please. Please, please, please. All right, now this is a newer whip. We've all seen this before because I've talked about it. I'm still working on the Stephen West Garter Marler. I'm almost to the split for sleeves. I'm down to the purple section, so I'm going to keep going. These are the 2 colors that I'm using so far in my stash. And I'm really liking it. Mom keeps talking about it, so I may make her one, or I don't know, give her this one. Who knows? We'll see what happens when I get it finished, when I split for sleeves. All right, then
I need to insert mine because mine is a Stephen West and a Stephen West bag.
Okay.
You're an MCal knitter, baby. Okay. Also, this bag was by Sassy Sacks by Yachty. Just by the way. All right. This is my second pair of Broadway socks. I am knitting the Stephen West Mo Mod socks.
Oh.
And I'm doing it a little bit differently than what the pattern calls for in the and I'll explain. The pattern calls for one solid color on the top and one solid color on the bottom of the foot. I'm doing stripes because this is my Wicked Witch of the East socks.
Nice.
So what I'm going to do is the bottom of this will be the ruby slipper.
Yes. Yay.
So what he has you do, without giving too much of the pattern, you knit your leg, then you go through and do your heel flap, but you do heel flap, heel turn, you don't start the gusset. Then you do the whole top of the foot, and then you pick up and do the whole bottom of the foot. What I'm doing differently is, I found that this yarn tends to grow for me. It's Cascade Heritage. So I normally do a 56 stitch leg, and this sock called for a 60 stitch leg. So I actually...
Most of his socks do, and I'm not sure why.
It's probably just his gauge and how he does it, I guess. But I went ahead and decreased, or rather, there was an increase in here that I didn't do to keep it down to basically 28 stitches by the time you have it all said and done on the leg. So this will be kind of, I don't know, slouchy, I guess would be the word, on my leg, which I think will be fine. And then the bottom will fit nicely, which is what I need. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, so I don't end up with 3 balls of yarn on this sock, I'm going to go ahead and knit the whole top of the foot to where I would join it at the end to make the toe. And then I'll come back and do my heel flap and heel turn, and then do the gusset and all that from there. So, yep, it's a modular construction. I'm enjoying it. This sock, I knit this whole thing within a 24 hours time span. No, it was one night and one day, but still within 24 hours, I had knit all of this.
Wow.
So, just saying, stripes are where it's at sometimes. I'm doing 10 rows per stripe on this because I was going to do 5, but I think you just need these big, blocky
I think so too.
stripes.
Yes.
So, yep, that is the Mo Mod Socks by Stephen West. I'm very excited. I'm hoping to at least, well, I don't know if we'll be back before we end up doing this show. Just because we're about to, especially missing a whole week of rehearsals because of snow, we're about to have a bunch of Saturday rehearsals and night rehearsals and stuff. So it might be after.
Yeah, I won't see you again for another month, actually. It'll be over a month. Mm-hmm.
So I'll send virtual hugs.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So the only thing I will say is with doing this stripes, you have to carry your yarn. When you get to the point where you're doing modular construction, then I have to be extra careful that this does not become a ladder from here to here.
Yes.
So I've been having to carry my yarn up the side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm mentioning that because he did not design this pattern to be able to stripe the yarn like that.
Right. No, they were meant to be solid.
Right. And that it saves you a lot of yarn management issues that I am dealing with. But I obviously had a very specific reason for...
You did.
Yeah. So that's my Mo
The
Mod.
Wicked Witch of where?
It's the Wicked Witch of the East because she's the one that has the house dropped on her.
Yes.
And there's actually a line in the musical where they're like, are you sure that's your sister? And the Wicked Witch of the West is like, well, yeah, who else would wear socks like that with those shoes? So it's perfect. It's like, it's me. I would do it.
That I can't wait to see when those get done. That's going to be
I'm going to have to wear my Birks with these. Or I feel like I just need to get pictures without shoes on them so it looks like I'm wearing the ruby slippers.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought about doing like a real pointed toe, but I'm pretty sure the ruby slippers still have a rounded toe.
I think they do.
So, I think I might still do my rounded toe, but I might do a deeper toe so it really gives you that shoe look.
Yeah, just do like a 2-inch toe instead of a 1.5.
Or just, I'm thinking about and it'll be easier to knit picking up to join back in the round, maybe like 10 or 15 rounds sooner, and having those 10, 15 rounds of stockinette.
Yeah, before you start yes. My last whip. Oh, I shouldn't say the last, but it's the one I brought.
It's the last one that we're showing today because I have so many at home.
Oh my God. I found a whole nother tote full.
I've thoroughly enjoyed just focusing on like 2 projects, and I've been chomping it. Well, we'll talk about that after. Let's do yours because I have other things to talk about.
This is my last one. This is a Stephen West shawl, the Fiberfest.
Oh, you started it without me.
This one I started like months ago.
Okay.
I just put it aside so I can put it aside while I'm working on these other things that I really need to get finished because they were like the oldest ones.
Yeah.
And then let you at least get to probably here before I have to start again because you do knit a lot faster than I do.
Yes, but I love this. It's not on the bingo board for this year because it was a surprise gift that I love.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
I already used my free space. Whoops. But, okay. I love this. So what yarns are you using?
So this is the medium blue from Wool Market Fibers. This is an old stash yarn from Zen Garden, and it was one of their one-of-a-kinds. And then I'm using lace here, doubled in here, and this is the blue from Barocco Ariel, their mohair lace, and I really like it. This was the one where I had started this. When I started this, I thought that I would do, one of his hot, vibrant pinks and stuff because I do have those in stock, and I thought, well, if Hannah can do it, I can get out of my wheelhouse and my comfort zone. So I literally I got to like this part, I did all of this, and then part of this before I got to the brioche section, which is a 2-color brioche. And I literally started going blind. It was the pink. I promise. I tried to like it. I really did.
It was sent to a loving home.
Yes, it was, because Hannah ended up getting it.
And I love it dearly. It's in my, and that tells you something too. I got it and it was knit up within the calendar year.
Yeah,
that tells you how much I love it.
It was knit up within the first week after I gave it to you, which was kind of funny because she was over looking at the sock wall, which is behind me, and I asked her, I said, well, she pulled out the fuchsia pink, the hot pink. And she's like, oh my God, I got to have this. And I said, wait, do you really, really want that? She says, well, yeah, this is my favorite color. And I said, wait a minute. So I walked over to my bag, and I had already bagged it back up and rewound it. And I said, here, Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. It's all yours. Take it.
And then immediately became a sockhead slouch.
Yep.
And then I put it in my Funfetti raglets. There's like very little left of that pink. And I'll probably knit more in that pink.
That hat was literally done, I think, in a week.
It was also summer vacation for context here. But yeah.
You don't need context. You just are a fast knitter.
I'm motivated.
You and Ramona both.
So, okay. First, we had a question on our last podcast. We said, like, hey, is there anything you want us to talk about? I'm going to talk about this more in depth in a future planned video. It's just, with us doing Broadway right now, everything else gets put on hold for Broadway. It's show business, you know? So.
Yeah. To be fair, you've got to concentrate on that, because that really is a big production.
It's a big production, and I'm basically the number 2 of that. So my job goes into basically everything that's not costuming and acting.
Yeah. I
handle stage effects, props. I'm not the one commissioning people to get props, but I am the one that they're saying, hey, we have X, Y, and Z coming, and I'm saying, hey, we need this too for this thing to happen. I'm the one referencing the book, checking, making sure everything is held accountable. So, yeah. I love it. It stretches my brain. It's like, I don't know. I call it the Super Bowl of music, honestly, because I'm like the coach on the sideline going through all the emotions in one thing. And at the end, I feel like I need the bucket dumped on my head to just like, okay. Anyway, but the question that came up, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I believe it might even be, if you're a MCAL winner, I have one MCAL winner I haven't heard from yet. So I'm going to put your name on the screen.
Oh, no.
If you haven't responded, please email me.
Please?
So we can give you free pattern.
Please?
I want to give you free pattern.
Pretty please.
But I believe one of our other regular viewers posted and asked about gauge, about how we modify patterns to fit ourselves. And I guess I didn't mention this. So the Felix cardigan, what I did is I looked at the schematic of it, and I knew that the bust width, so the width I needed for my body was the size 3. But I looked at the yoke depth, and the yoke depth was going to be like, I don't feel bad saying this, 11 inches. And I was knitting my flax, my love note that became the flax. I knit it into a yoke depth of like 11 inches, and I tried it on. I'm like, this is a sack. And so that one's in timeout, soon to be ripped out. So I saw that the size 3 called for an 11-inch yoke depth, and I was like, okay, this doesn't work for me. So what I did is I knit it to the size 2 yoke depth, which is a 9.5. So it's understanding, when you're talking about modifying a pattern, you have to understand what size are you knitting to and how tightly or loosely do you want it to fit on you. A good example would be if you find your favorite sweater that you love to wear all the time. It could be a hand knit sweater, it could be a store-bought sweater. But find your favorite sweater and measure, lay it flat and measure how wide it is from here to here, because this is what we're looking at. And you don't want like this part, because this part includes my arms.
Yeah.
You want where it splits for sleeves, like right where it splits for sleeves is the perfect place before it decreases or anything like that. How wide is it this way? And then measure, okay, from the neckline here, and a drop shoulder isn't the best, but like a raglan, from here to where I split for sleeves, so you can start like here, measure down, or I sometimes measure here this way, this diagonal. how deep is that?
Mm-hmm.
And how tightly does that fit on me? How loose is that? And measure your own body. How far is it from where I would want my neck to sit to where? And I would count, usually sweaters count from the cast on, depending on if you start with the collar or not. So this one didn't start with the collar, so they would count it from here over. This, if the sweater did start with casting on with the collar, it would start from the collar over. The flax starts from the collar over.
Mm-hmm. The Isabel Kramer's patterns start from the cast on. Yeah. You pick up for the neck, for the ribbing after. So you can still count from the neck to the armhole, and that's your depth. That's where you want to count. And this would be a good, I'm going to put this on so that we can show.
Yes. Yeah, and we can show raglan, for sure. So raglan's a good one because it's really easy to identify where that increase line is and where it's growing and where it stops.
Excuse the sleeves. Okay,
but so they're cute.
I know, isn't this? Oh, I just love this. Okay,
that's a perfect color for you.
It is. It's my Harvest Gold refrigerator, 1970s retro.
The raglan line is this. This is your increase line. So when we're talking about yoke depth, we're talking about from this edge all the way to right here where it splits for sleeves. That this is the depth of how much I've given myself room for my chest and my arms.
Yes.
When we're talking about bust, we're talking about if we're measuring where it splits for sleeves from right here all the way to where it splits for sleeves right here. This would be the depth.
And the area in between.
Right. And it's flat, not all the way around. Flat would be half of it, multiply it by 2.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about
the front and the back.
If you try and measure it all the way around, it's going to be bigger when it's on you.
Yes.
And it might lay closer to you. So what you need to do is lay it flat, measure that flat, and then multiply it by 2 to get your full circumference of what that would be. Because that would be what it would stretch out to without stretching anymore or sitting closer to you. So all of that said, we're talking about socks too. You have to measure what's the length of my foot and what's the width of my foot. Sorry, y'all. Airplanes. Everybody's out and about now.
Yes.
You have to get those exact measurements. So find the exact measurements of your body so you know what you're working with, and then find out what do I like the fit of. Socks are a little more deceiving because you need socks to stretch. You don't want them to be the same size as your foot. We call that negative E. So it's this much smaller than your foot, so the fabric will stretch to accommodate your foot, like this sock. And ease works in 2 ways. We have the width ease, so it will stretch to accommodate my foot, and then we have the length ease. But if you notice, when I stretch lengthwise, the width gets smaller. When I stretch widthwise, the length gets smaller. So they work together. If I make it too tight both ways, it will not fit.
No.
If I
wouldn't
make
be able
it
to put it on because your instep where your ankle and the heel is, that's got to go into your sock first. So if you can't get your sock in over that section of your foot, it's too small. You're gonna have to rip it out.
So when we're talking about fit of garments, those 2 things you have to think about, that the length and the width work together. So if you make it too small or too big one way, it doesn't matter if it fits the other way because they're going to throw each other off.
They fight each other.
Yes. So what you need to do, and if you're looking at socks, don't measure a cotton sock because cotton stretches way more than wool.
Yes. And cotton has no elasticity to it.
Right, where wool really does. And that's why wool socks are actually closer to the size of your foot, is because they're not going to stretch as much, but then when you wash them, they bounce back like this. So when we're talking about all of that, when we're talking about modifying, the question was specifically about modifying the weight of yarn for a pattern. What you need to look at is the gauge that was called for in the pattern. By gauge, we're talking about how many stitches per inch across, how many rows per inch down. And you have to swatch. You have to. There's no...
I don't even like it, but it's got to be done if you want the sweater or the cardigan to fit the way you want it to, for one thing, and it'll fit accordingly to the way you want it to.
So then you have to go through and do the math of, okay, let's say for me, if I wanted a garment with no ease, so I want it to be the exact same width as my bust. I know that this is a yoke depth, I believe, of 9.5 inches, and I have a little bit of ease down here, but that gives me enough room that I can move around a little bit. So I need to knit that my blocked washed fabric, because when I washed this, it opened up, right?
And that does make a difference
Yes.
in gauge. So if you're looking at a pattern where the designer says, measure your swatch after it was washed and blocked, that means it was soaking wet, you blocked it, and then it's dry so that it's back to its measurement.
Right. And when you wash it, like, don't manipulate the fabric.
No.
You wash it, you dry it like you would if it was a full thing, and then you lay it flat. You don't stretch or pull to get it to a certain size.
No.
And what that does, all wool, it'll relax and set into its shape, especially when a designer calls for a washed swatch. It means that the stitch pattern they have is going to change somewhat when you wash it. A good example is cables. That's why I mentioned that this hadn't been blocked. This is going to relax when it blocks. It's a little slim right here, but I know the second I block it, it's going to relax out a little bit, and this hat will fit differently. That's also why I like that there's a big amount of ribbing. The ribbing will relax, but not as much as the cables will. Maybe. Am I wrong on that?
No, it'll relax some. Yeah, the hat will
this
stretch
stitch
out a
pattern, this sweater was tight on me right here. I thought I was going to have to rip it out. Block it, relax it, get the weight of the sleeve attached to it to weigh it down when it blocks, and it fits perfectly. So all of that, you've got to do your math with your swatch. Figure out, okay, how many rows per inch rows per inch, and how many stitches per inch do I have, and get a good, don't just measure a 1x1, measure like a 4x4, 5x5, and that needs to be out of the dead center of your swatch.
Yes, it has to be at the dead center.
So it's not messed up by edges, because the edging on things, especially when we're talking about knitting it around, the edging on things is going to throw things off.
Your gauge is always different when you knit in the round versus when you knit flat.
Yes, for most people. If yours is different,
because you're just knitting. So yeah, mine's a little bit tighter when I knit in the round versus when I'm knitting flat, because everybody's purls are a little bit more loose than knit. That's just the nature of the fabric. When I did this sweater, when I got down to the sleeves, I thought I was almost done. I tried it on, and the sleeves were like, above bracelet length, which I don't like. I knit a couple more inches, and then I started into the cuff. I lucked out that when I blocked this sweater, now I didn't have to do too much to it, but once I did and I blocked the sleeves, then they were right where I wanted them to be. So I didn't have to rip the cuffs off and reknit more of the sleeve and before I put the cuffs on. So I lucked out there, but blocking does make a difference.
It does. So all of that, I know that seems like a lot of work, but if we're talking about modifying a pattern,
if you want it to fit, you've got to do the work.
So then you take that math of, okay, I know, let's say I get 20 stitches per inch this way. Is that right? That'd be, 20 per 4 inches.
Yeah,
so 5
usually
stitches per
within
inch.
a 4 inch.
Yeah. So let's say I got 20 stitches per 4 inches this way, and I got, to keep it easy, 20 rows, right? So that means for every inch, because if it's 20 stitches per 4 inches, 20 divided by 4 would be 5. So I have 5 stitches per inch. If I need to do a 43-inch bust, I would need to multiply 43 times 5 to see, okay, when I split for sleeves, my stitch count for my body needs to be that number. Okay, we're back. So, fitting a garment. So if I want no ease, I want this to be the exact same size. That means it's going to fit kind of like this, like it's just right hugged up to my body. If you gain a pound, it's going to have to stretch. If you lose a pound, it'll have a little relaxing room.
But it won't be much.
But yeah, it won't be much. Anyway, so I would multiply 43 by my stitches per inch if that was my bust measurement, 43. So 43 times 5 would be how many stitches I need all the way around. That does not include my arms. Then I would need to go through and figure out, okay, my arms, how wide around my arms, multiply that by the stitches per inch for each arm, and then add that to the number. So when I split for sleeves, I need
that many
the
total
body
stitches.
plus both sleeves. And then you need to go back and say, okay, well, how big is my neck opening going to be? Again, measuring your favorite sweater flat, take that number, multiply it by 2 to get your full circumference, then multiply that by your stitches per inch. And then, okay, I have this number here and this number here. How do I get from this number to this number and do it fairly evenly so it's not just like this going down? So let's say I started with like casting 100 stitches theoretically, and I needed to get to, I don't know, let's say I need to get to like 400 stitches. So I need to increase 300 stitches between my neck to here, and that would probably be like a fingering weight gauge, I guess. I'm just throwing numbers. So then from there, I figure out, okay, how am I going to increase? You could do a circular yoke where you increase, and you have to remember that you need to set aside your arm and have that panel grow evenly to get from whatever portion of the number you give it here to what it needs over here on each side, and then my body separately. So when I split, all of my stitches are not over here or here, it's
They've
all
gotta be
evenly distributed.
So,
and that's where a raglan comes into play really well, because they have this line right here. So
that
for
comes
every
from here and here, and it comes out this way, accommodating for the sleeves. So your sleeves hypothetically will be, 65 stitches on this side, 65 on that side, plus all of your back stitches separately, and then your front yoke stitches.
Right, and with a raglan, you basically would have, I've seen 1 to 2, sometimes even 3 stitches along this way where you didn't do anything to, and then you would increase on this side of it and increase on this side. So every time I increase here, I'm increasing here to slowly distribute. And then I've seen 2 patterns where when you kind of get close to the split, if the sleeve is where it needs to be but the body isn't, they'll just increase on this side.
Yeah,
to accommodate
just the body and the back, not the sleeves, because your sleeves are done.
So that would be a raglan construction. A round yoke, they're kind of evenly distributed throughout.
All the way around.
I don't know if I would start with that. The raglan to me would seem easier to wrap, but I've also knit more raglans than anything else, so I understand the construction a lot more. And so I hope that explains it. It's really, you have to break down and do the math. With a sock, you need to determine...
you got to have your circumference of your foot and the length for the leg and part of the calf, because it depends on how long you want. If you're going to do a knee high, you've got to accommodate the calf. So that's going to have to be accounted for as far as your stitch count, because that's going to be the widest part of your leg, and then it's going to decrease down towards the ankle.
Yeah, and I would say if you're going to start with socks, just start with like a shorty or a not super tall sock, so you can just focus on getting that foot to fit right, and then you can worry about the rest of it because once you get comfortable with that.
My mid caps are 64 stitches throughout the whole thing. So for me, mine is basically the size of the needle that's going to give me the negative ease that I need for the sock to not fall down in my shoe and stay up.
And I've seen a good rule.
Comfortable.
A good rule of thumb for socks is you want typically at least, like, you want typically about 1 inch of negative ease width and length. The way I do mine, I do 1.5 inches negative ease on the width and 1/2 inch negative ease on the length, and that way I get 2 inches of negative ease. But what I find is that my foot is very narrow and longer, and my toe tends to be one of the more hard wearing parts of my sock. So to reduce the ease there and to have it on that width, A, it feels good on my foot because it feels nice and snug down my foot, but B, that I'm not putting the tension of the sock on a more hard wearing spot. That's just my personal preference for what works for me.
Yeah, because everybody walks differently.
Right.
So where you wear in the sock is going to be different as well. A lot of people will wear their sock more at the ball of the foot. Some people wear it more at the heel. So,
I'm planning on doing a lot more in depth with socks. Hopefully in this calendar year. I have the plans. Michelle knows I've been working on some things behind the scenes. That once we get through Broadway, I can kind of start dedicating time to filming and working on that. Because socks are their own ball game, very much so in depth. But I hope that explains it. You really need to look at, if you're modifying a pattern,
there really is a lot of math involved.
Yeah,
I
and
like
look
loose sweaters, so I just bump it up a size.
Right, and I was working on a festival sweater, and the only reason I haven't gone back and finished it is because the needle and yarn combo did not play nice together. So it was metal needle and acrylic yarn, and it was just fighting. But what I did is I was knitting the festival sweater by Petite Knit on a worsted weight gauge, and that sweater calls for a DK weight gauge. So I started at the normal neck size because you add the collar in later. Or no, you might. I don't remember. I had the collar added at that point. Anyway, so I started knitting down, and I just checked my gauge a little way in because I knew if it was a little looser up at my neck, it wasn't going to bother me that much. But if it's way too baggy here, it would.
Yeah.
So I checked my gauge a little way in, and thought, okay, this is my gauge. Don't do what I did. Just do a gauge swatch. It'd be way easier for you. Checked my gauge and said, okay, I'm getting this many stitches per inch. So which of the stitch counts is going to get me the closest to my bust measurement and my depth measurement? And then just went down. Instead of knitting what would have been like the size 5 or 6 in her pattern, I was knitting the size 1 or 2 because my gauge was looser, that I knew knitting those numbers was going to get me the width I needed.
Yeah.
Or like really close.
And I've heard some people say that if their gauge is off from the designer, you can go either up a size or you could go down a size to accommodate for the fact that your gauge didn't match.
Yes, and I've done that before. And that's a really easy way of, you do some of the math, but not all the math.
Yeah. And some of the math is also, if you used a heavier weight yarn, if you used a DK instead of a sport or a fingering, then you could go down a size and still get it versus the other way around.
Right, and it could be as simple as going down a needle size and getting gauge, or it could be just going down a size of the pattern.
Yep.
But I would definitely do your math and check those numbers before you commit to that.
Especially if you're going to be modifying a lot of areas in the pattern.
Right.
You know, you may like the look of the pattern, but you wanted to change the yarn, you wanted to change the needles, and you're dead set on that's what you want. You're going to have to do the math in order to get it all correct so that you could have the sweater you want with the yarn that you want to knit it with.
Yeah.
It just, sorry, no cheating.
So hopefully that answers your question. If y'all have any things you want us to talk about, please comment down below. We'd love to hear what you're working on, what you're making. Do you have any dream knitting?
Do I have any dream knitting?
Yes.
No. Well, I dream of getting my whips done so I can have them.
I have to shout out this knit along. It's Knitting Up North with Jenn and Corrina. They're doing the Knit a Halibut with Jenn and Corrina.
Oh, I've seen that.
And I have the halibut pattern. I've been itching to cast it on. My husband's like, but it's not on your bingo board. I'm like, but I want to knit it so bad. So the knit along runs till March 31st. So there's a solid chance if I'm like 5 bingo squares in the first month, I'll be like, I think I've earned the right to cast on a halibut now.
I'd have to do that. I'd have to do 2 bingo boards in order to justify a brand new.
I just, this is what I do. I start off so productive and then I go rogue and self-destruct.
Yes.
But I've been dying to knit this pattern for so long.
Which is why I have all these extra whips, because I've rogued myself right out the door with all these new things. And so, yeah, I've got it.
Yes.
I've been very, very good about trying to keep myself reined in. Although I do want to do another Melanie Berg shawl. I was thinking Nick's.
Yes.
That one's a pretty one. So
we'll see. But the knit along runs to March 31st, and you can knit the sweater, the cardigan, the hat, or the mittens, or the cowl. So you could knit a smaller halibut if you were not committed to a whole sweater. But I wanted to shout it out because it is a cool knit along, and they're cool people. I like watching their channel a lot. So if I can't participate, I'm at least going to encourage somebody else to go out and participate. Yes,
we'll be the shouting crowd.
Yes. And if you want us to do a knit along, we have some. Oh, there's also another knit along.
We could do another.
The lady who owns White Rose Fiber Company on Instagram, she's KnitNowSwatchLater, which beautiful username. She's doing a dozen socks. I think it's a dozen socks Cal KAL 25, where you knit a dozen socks in 2025. And I have 12 socks on my bingo board, and I was like, well, check. Pair number 1 for January.
I've got
check.
12 that could be finished, not started.
But that would be so cool. Work? Yeah, like
okay.
Just I'm pretty sure whips are welcome. I'll have to double check, but it's just like a little Instagram knit along. So there's plenty of things going on in the fiber community should you want to participate. I know there's a couple more I've seen coming out, but those are the 2 that I'm like, I want to participate in, and I'm dream knitting from afar.
Remember when you talked about the sea glass?
Yes.
The pullover?
Yes.
The cardigan's out.
I saw the cardigan. I'm hesitant because remember I knit the hat?
Yes.
And that hat actually does not exist anymore.
Uh-oh.
It was knit too small. I was still learning my colorwork technique. I was still, okay. It was knit too small to the point where it ripped. And that's where this black pom-pom was originally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
poor
yeah,
hat.
it was used. I used my leftovers of my Stephen West shawlography for it because I thought it'd be cute to have a matching hat and shawl, but they weren't matchy. They were just same colors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. I've knit the Alpine Bloom from Caitlin Hunter, so I feel confident that I can get the Halibut to fit. And I knit the Halibut cowl. Mm-hmm. So I'm very confident that I could get them both to fit right in the yoke. Whereas the sea glass, I'm worried about the fit. But I did the funfetti, so I guess it's different, but I don't know. The cardigan will look cool.
It's just all those tails. Oh, goodness.
Oh, and they have it. I know why. I know what they're doing because they're saying you're not knitting colorwork flat. You're not purling colorwork.
Are we steeking?
We're not steeking.
Okay, good.
It's not steeking.
Because if I'm in a steek, I'm actually going to do a true Fair Isle.
Yeah.
And then steek. And I've found a few that I really want to do. It's not like dream knitting because I still have, this is my monkey on my back. So I want to get that off. But yeah, if I had a dream knit, it would be a true Fair Isle. I could do a cowl and then split it up and make it a wrap. You know, something like that. Yeah. Not a sweater. I'm not that far. I'm not that good. I could knit Fair Isle all day long, but yeah, I want to do a sweater.
There's so many things to knit.
So that would be mine.
We have so many projects behind. Like it's just
that could be our knit along.
But we have the Fiber Fest to knit along too,
yeah,
and we
got the Fiber Fest.
I have a whole.
And you've got your halibut. You want to knit your fish.
Yes, I need my fish. I gave my grandpa my halibut cow because he actually lived in Alaska for a while, and so he loved it. Like he thought it was great with the halibut.
Well, then he needs the matching mittens.
I don't know if he'll wear mittens. Plus, I want the sweater. I want the sweater. I am enjoying this DK weight cozy sweater, and I feel like the funfetti, I enjoy wearing it, but it's such a loud piece that it's not necessarily one you just casually wear out into society.
Yeah, you can.
You can?
You can. You can, Hannah. You can do it. You can rock that sweater.
But I'm definitely...
a more muted, toned down kind of gal.
No, I just want to wear sweaters all the time now. I'm like, this is so cozy.
Wait till
I need all of these.
80 degrees, and then you'll be pulling that sweater off because it gets hot.
That's why I have my little my coloring book tee and my Alpine Bloom. And I figured out how to do a tie. I took a ponytail and tied the back of the sweater and tucked it up so it was like cropped and wore it with a dress to church the other day. And everybody's like, "You look so cute with that sweater." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, I made it." Yes. It was the best feeling ever. And then that was the same day I gave my mom the quilt. So everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, how much stuff do you make?" I'm like, "Y'all have no idea."
You're gonna start watch them pouring in, beeping, blowing your phone up with orders.
No, they're very nice people. I've only a couple of people have like asked for me to make stuff for them, and I don't mind as long as I have like a spot in the queue that it can go. So I have a couple of projects planned this year for other people, mainly my family. I have two planned for ladies at church that they've been waiting very patiently for at least a year. But I After, like, I think otherwise my commissions are closed for the 2025 calendar year and will reopen again for 2026, possibly.
My only standing orders are Mom's got to have socks. Shimmers, she don't care. As long as it's shimmery,
Mr. Wool
Mom's got
Market
to have
Fibers
socks.
needs a sweater.
Yes, his sweater is in the mix. I worked on that just the other day. The problem with that one is my stitch count is off, and he doesn't tell you what your total for, like, your sleeves are supposed to be when you get to the, next section, what your fronts are supposed to be, or the back. He doesn't tell you any of that.
That's weird because he's normally good about that.
Yeah, well, I'll show it and you can find it and tell me, because
he's been popping out a lot of patterns lately too. He might need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, and actually give us a little bit of a stitch count, man. We need stitch count.
I bet if you emailed though and said that was something you found as a user was difficult in the pattern, I bet you they would go back and update it.
I hope so.
Because he's good about his patterns being very user friendly.
At least in the part that he knit, because he did a size 4, which is the size I'm working. Mm-hmm. So even if he gave a size 4, I would be thrilled, because that's the size I need, and I'm off. I could fix it, but I need to know where. So if he tells me what the total stitches are for the sleeves, for each section, I can determine where I can put the extras to make it correct.
And you could probably do the math for it, but that's still a lot of work.
Oh dear.
When he could have done it
he could have done it when he was doing it. Yeah. So maybe next time he throws out cardigans, put the stitch counts in there for each section, please. We appreciate it.
No, it wouldn't be the same as the sweater, would it?
What?
The stitch count.
Well, he would have to for some. I mean, these pullovers, I don't think have them. I've got 2 of his cardigans, and I didn't see him anywhere in there.
So maybe this is the shawls he does it for.
He does it for the shawls, but he doesn't do it for the others. Please put your stitch counts in there, folks. When you start designing sweaters,
the best,
we need that.
Oh, what's her name? Curious Handmade, Helen Stewart.
Okay.
Helen Stewart's patterns are very thorough of, like, this is your exact stitch count the whole way along. This is how many % you're done with the pattern. And
that's why I like Isabel Kramer, because she does it too.
Yep.
We need that. But please.
We've rambled on a lot today. We hope you've enjoyed.
A little too much, actually.
Yeah, we've it's been a long time since we hung out. We needed to catch up.
It's been a few weeks. Yeah. And you're going to have to start drinking a lot of green tea with elderberry. Start bumping up your
vitamin C,
multivitamins.
Yep.
And
it worked out. See, my husband had taken this week off of work.
Oh, did he?
And it wasn't like, we both knew I was going to be off because it was Martin Luther King Day on Monday. So I was like, well, if you take this week off, we'll at least have one day off together, because our schedules run very opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And then it snowed on Tuesday. There was ice on Wednesday. And the roads were icy still.
The whole town, actually, everybody was told to stay home.
Right. So, like, we ended up with this whole week off together. Like, this is the first day I haven't spent the whole... And I'm going to go see him after knit group here. So, like, we got a whole week off together. Like, that worked out beautifully. Such a blessing. So grateful. So, anyway, we'll be back eventually, probably February. You'll see us again. If you have any questions you want us to answer, any questions further about Gauge, I do have some sock things planned for this year. It's just a matter of sitting down and finding time to film it, and this is just not the season of my life that I can film in these 2 months.
Yes, unfortunately, Broadway takes precedence, so be patient.
Just for a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
We got to kill the Wicked Witch, and then we'll be good. So...
Wait till the witch is dead, then we'll be back to our regular programming.
Anyway, so thank you for watching. We're getting really close to 100 subscribers, so thank you for everybody who subscribed. Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Don't forget, to the person who won that you haven't called in yet, please. So we can give you your free pattern. So you can get your prize, because I want to know what y'all got. I still don't know who got what.
Okay. Yes, we'll have to. Well, I'll reach out to the winners and see if they don't mind sharing.
Could you please? I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm nosy.
Anyway, so thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.